So leftists now, knowing that and the midterms, they're not going to be able to beat Republicans coming up. I mean, the polls are out there, the numbers are out there. They're just not going to be able to do it. So what they're doing now is making a preemptive strike to stop populists from running. Let me read this. Welcome to the Dan Dawson Show. Thank you. Let me read you this article from Newsweek. Group argues Madison Cawthorn ineligible for Congress due to January 6th rally participation. It's by Aaron Brady. A group of North Carolina voters has said they believe that Representative Madison Cawthorn, I have no idea who that is, never heard of him before, cannot be a congressional candidate due to his ties to the January 6th Capitol riots. Lawyers representing 11 North Carolina voters filed the candidacy challenge with the State Board of Elections. The challenge claimed that Cawthorn's recent candidacy filing for the state's 13th district seat violates a constitutional amendment enacted shortly after the Civil War. In this amendment, nobody that has engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the U.S. Constitution is allowed to serve in Congress. The voters claimed that Cawthorn's participation in an election fraud rally that ended up infiltrating the U.S. Capitol makes him ineligible for congressional reelection. Cawthorn was a guest speaker at the Save America rally, which took place the morning of January 6, 2021. At the rally, Cawthorn said the crowd had some fight in them and openly put forth the idea that there was widespread election fraud that ousted former President Donald Trump from office. He also said during the event that Democrats are trying to silence voters, saying that, quote, they do not want you to be heard, end quote. Meanwhile, Cawthorn is fighting back against the challenge. Spokesman Luke Ball said that the group is, quote, comically misrepresenting and twisting the 14th Amendment for political gain, end quote, in an email sent to the Associated Press. However, the group is denying this, with member Jay Walsh saying that the representative's actions, quote, are damaging our country and eroding our freedoms, end quote. The written challenge says the events on January 6, 2021 amounted to an insurrection. In the Cawthorn speech at the rally supporting Donald Trump, his other comments and information in published reports provide a reasonable suspicion or belief that he helped facilitate the insurrection and is thus disqualified. The importance of defending the bedrock constitutional principle that oath breakers who engage in insurrection cannot be trusted in future office is essential to maintain. Ron Feen, legal director of Free Speech for People, a national election and campaign finance reform group backing the challenge election, told the Associated Press. Fine said the Cawthorn challenge will be the first of many they intend to file against other members of Congress associated with the insurrection in the near future. Free Speech for People in the group Our Revolution announced last week that it would urge state election administrators to bar Trump and members of Congress from appearing on future ballots. State law says Cawthorn has the burden to show by a preponderance of the evidence that he's qualified to run. Ball pointed out that over 245,000 patriots from Western North Carolina elected Congressman Cawthorn to serve them in Washington, a reference to his November 2020 victory in the current 11th district. Cawthorn, 26, became the youngest, wow, that is young, became the youngest member of Congress after his November 2020 election in the far western 11th district and has become a social media favorite of Trump supporters. He plans to run in a new congressional district that appears friendlier to Republicans. He formally filed candidacy papers with the State Board of Elections last month, just before filing was suspended with redistricting lawsuit while redistricting lawsuits are pending. The challenge asks the board to create a 5-member panel from counties within the proposed 13th district to head the challenge. The panel's decision can be appealed state board and later to court. That was poorly written, my bad. I didn't write it, so. The 11 voters identified in additional paperwork filed with the board are from our counties, or from 4 counties within the new 13th district, which stretches from the state's foothills east to parts of Charlotte. Cawthorn voted against certifying Biden's presidential victory, although later he signed a letter with other GOP members of Congress congratulating Biden. Cawthorn has said he had a constitutional duty to vote against him. He condemned the Capitol violence, but compared it to the summer 2020 protesters over police brutality. Still, last summer, Cawthorn warned North Carolinians of potential bloodshed over future elections he claims could quote, continue to be stolen, end quote, and questioned whether Biden was dutifully elected. The challengers also asked the board to let them question Cawthorn under oath in a deposition before the regional panel convenes, and to subpoena him and others to obtain documents. It's easy to deny something on Twitter or in a speech to supporters being set, but we look forward to questioning him under oath. That's the end of the article. Let's get to it. So here's what Democrats aren't realizing, right? They're doing all this, right? I just read you the article. And they're trying to stop Republicans from running, claiming there was an insurrection. But Cawthorn is actually right. You know it's an insurrection? When anarchists, socialists, Nazis take over entire city blocks, like in the city of Seattle, for months, for an entire summer, when they burn and attack or attempt to burn down federal buildings, when they attack police precincts, blocking police in and attempt to burn them down. That is an insurrection. And I don't think that the Democrats realize what they're doing could actually be used against them. Let me explain to you how. So not what happens when 11, 12, 13 voters pop up in Maxine Waters' district and start playing video of her interfering in a trial, of her encouraging people to attack Trump supporters in the street, well, while Trump was president. Or what happens when the NRA comes forward and says, hey, these congressmen and women are attacking the Second Amendment. That's against the Constitution, which it is. They would be absolutely right to do so. So what happens when that happens? And now you can't run for office. See what they're doing? They're putting something in place that's going to move against them. That pendulum always swings. So now what you're putting out there, it's going to move against you. It is what it is, because if you don't think people are going to come forward and say, hey, well, look at Rashida Tlaib, AOC. I mean, honestly, them putting this forward and making this move to block Republicans could end up destroying the squad. Think about this, Kamala Harris. People attacked federal buildings and she started a fund to back or to bail them out. So what happens when they come forward and put that forward and file a lawsuit on that, stopping her, blocking her from running for president? Because let's face it, Joe Biden is not going to run for a second term. It would be insanity if he did. But you have to ask yourself those questions. Because see, they're desperate now. They're reaching, they're clawing, they're scratching. I keep saying we're winning. We are. And it's not as conservatives or Republicans are winning. Common sense is winning. If you look around the country, people are getting tired of crime in the streets. People are getting tired of these lax laws on criminals. And so when you have people like Rashida Tlaib, Cori Bush saying, hey, close down all federal prisons and let all the criminals out. And then I'll never forget the interview. Matter of fact, I did a video on it. And the reporter asked her, he goes, well, don't you know there's murderers and rapists? And she goes, but it's not for 10 years, like they're going to reform in 10 years. These are lifelong criminals. They're not going to reform anytime soon. So when you have stuff like that going on, and now you're putting this forward to try to block Republicans with the 14th Amendment, you don't think that's going to be used against you? I surely would use it. I surely would use it. If I was the head of the conservative caucus right now, I would start filing lawsuits. I would. And I'd file against Maxine Waters, every member of the squad, Nancy Pelosi, Kamala Harris. And I would do it now. Stacey Abrams. They talk about, oh, well, Trump can't let go of the election. Stacey Abrams still hadn't let go of the fact that she lost the Georgia gubernatorial election 4 years ago. I think it's coming up again, and she still hasn't let go of it. Just is what it is. And people do things and don't realize that same sword you swing can be used against you. And they're swinging this 14th Amendment sword or battle axe or whatever, not realizing it's going to be used against you. It's just a matter of time. It's not even a question. It's a matter of time, and it's a matter of who. I think that's why you have so many experienced Democrats resigning. They're getting out. They're saying, hey, I'm done. I'm not going to do this. And so when you have stuff like that, you have to really wonder what's their thinking. And I think their thinking is they know they're doomed. And right now, the Democrats know, because of the condition of blue cities, you're not going to beat, forget a conservative candidate, you're not going to beat an independent at this point. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen, because the average person is seeing the results, the average decent person, not these little brainwashed BLM brown shirts running around harassing people. One day, I'm telling you, young people, you're going to harass the wrong person and you're going to catch one. Then it'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe they shot me. Or you've seen it. They run up and they attack somebody and they get punched in the face and oh my God, he hit me. You know how it goes. But I just wanted to read you that. And it's like, so don't be surprised when Republicans do the same thing. Of course, when Republicans do the same thing, you're going to get The View, Behar, and Karen Johnson, Whoopi Goldberg, Don Lemon, Jory Reid saying, I can't believe Republicans did this, blah, 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 even though they're doing the same thing. It's really ridiculous. So it's time to return fire. And one of the problems with the conservative cause is, honestly, I keep saying this, I keep saying it. We assume that the left is just stupid. Not Democrats, but the leftists, the AOCs, the Rashida Tlaibs, not the Tulsi Gabbards and people like that. They're common sense people. When the fact is, maybe they're just evil. Maybe they're just evil. But like, subscribe, share. As always, especially in these days and times, keep your paddle dry and do what you got to do.